or war or environmental disaster or mass murder we were sent in. I did a lot, but thanks God it's not happening every day. So I had some free time, and I used it to report on the parts of Russia which never met journalists, like small villages, small towns, people who are invisible for mass media. I did it for 17 years, and I really enjoy this work. And then Russia, I also need to tell some unpleasant things about Russian journalism, not just nice things. Me, as my colleagues, we believed that in this Western concept, that in the matter to preserve our objectivity, we shouldn't get involved in things. We should just fly over the sky like white birds, not touching our wings to the ground, not getting involved into politics too much. Even then I became LGBTQ activist. I felt like I'm betraying my profession because I got involved into things. So I decided that I won't report on LGBTQ issues because I'm not objective. Let straight people report on LGBTQ issues. They are objective for sure. So I had this idea for a few years, then I stopped believing this thing, thanks God. But this was a thing. And the second thing, what we also had in our mind, when you work very intense and then you know that you can be killed for your work or arrested for your work or prosecuted for your work or threatened or bribed or whatever, you need to believe that the work you do is the most important work on the earth. And we did believe it. And then fascism was growing through our country. We basically describing it very well, day by day, wrote a lot of stories on it, but we did nothing else. So then Russia invaded Ukraine. I was sent there first day as a war correspondent. And while I was there, our State Duma changed the legislation. And they passed two new laws. First called deliberately false information about Russian army. It's basically any information which contradicted with official information of Minister of Defense. It's up to 15 years in prison for that. Second was discreditation of usage of Russian army. It's basically, you don't need even spread any information, you can express emotion, like, I don't like when people killed. Well, also go to prison. We also got some forbidden words like war, aggression, occupation, and contextually it could be also rape, murder, kidnapping, torture. So basically then I was in Ukraine, I became a criminal right away. And then my mom says, that moment you had a chance to stop to do what you're doing and come back home and live happy life. Well, I'm existentialist, I don't really believe in choices. I believe we grow like trees. We just follow our path. So my path was to report on things I see. And I do believe that me, as other journalists who were in Ukraine that moment, we didn't have other choice than to report on mass murders of civilians we saw. What had happened next? My newspaper managed to publish 4 of my reports from Ukraine. Then my newspaper got second warning from Roskomnadzor. This is our state censorship agency. Second warning meant that they would revoke our license. So Novaya Gazeta had to shut down. And they did revoke our license. And 2 days after, I was on my way to Mariupol, and my colleague warned me that Russian soldiers know about me going to Mariupol, and they have ordered to kill me. And then I had this information proved by Ukrainian intelligence agency. So I realized I couldn't come back to Russia, at least for a while. So I'm still exiled. Many of my colleagues from Novaya Gazeta also went in exile because they couldn't imagine themselves working under these new laws. And they went outside of Russia and established Novaya Gazeta Europe to continue their work. Some of them chose to stay in Russia to keep reporting whatever they can. Amongst them, my younger sister, she's an investigative reporter in the investigative department of Novaya Gazeta. These people are true heroes, and I'm very happy to be here and to pass the word about them, because they risk their life every day. More than 1 million pages were blocked by Russian government since the invasion into Ukraine. Amongst them, all independent media and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So many media were proclaimed as foreign agents and undesirable organizations, like media I'm working right now, Medusa. Basically, to work in the media which proclaim is undesirable organization is crime itself. So my mom's saying I'm like picking the flash royale of criminal articles. I believe I do. We basically right now, being an exiled journalist, we are in technological race with Russian government, because we try to block our work, to block our information. We try to avoid the blockage. And so far we are successful. Medusa, for example, has 5 ways of avoiding the blockages inside the application of Medusa. It will work even if internet in Russia would be partially shut down. We still would be able to deliver the information. And I'm very proud to have such bright programmers on our side. Without their help, we won't be able to do our work at all. We have new media opened since the crash of the old media, like Help Desk Media. This is a fantastic resource, which is unique because it has 50-50% of Russian and Ukrainian audience. I believe this is the only media like that right now. And also Verstka and Продолжение следует, and some other small media, mostly run by women and young generation. I also need to tell about young generation in Russian journalism because it's quite a unique situation. When my generation had to leave Russia, these young people came and stepped into our shoes. These basically people who live in Russia, who has 0 education, who never worked as journalists before, but who said, we want to write down about what's happening around us. And they basically write to us. We try to mentor him, or it's quite hard to mentor them because the situation they're working right now is completely different from what we got used to. I'm helping some of those people, including 16 years old girl. Those people are extremely young, like 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, who just believe in journalism and in the idea of freedom of speech, and who want to basically document as much as they can from fascist Russia. People who are exiled, we also cannot feel very secure outside of Russia. I survived the assassination attempt myself, as some of my colleagues. And now I'm kind of struggling calling myself a journalist, because after the poisoning I had to spend more than a year to recovering, and I am not able to do reporting as I did before. So I travel to places. I got tired quite easily. But I do as much as I can, so spreading the word. I also have to say about the feeling of despair we all have. We had this, energy of anger in the beginning, and now we're getting tired, especially because of Western media keep taking information from propaganda sources like Russia Today and repeating it, like 87% of Russians supported Putin on the elections, or something like that. It's hard to find peace with it, because so many of my colleagues were just risking their lives and freedom to report on so-called elections in Russia, to show that there weren't elections at all. So I do encourage you to be careful about what source of information about Russia you use, because there are a lot of propaganda and a lot of propagandists who call themselves journalists. Well, they're not. Thank you so much. I'm very happy to answer your questions, and sorry for being emotional. Thank you.
Are you able to maintain communication with your parents and your siblings?
Thank you. Yes. So I use Signal. This is like the major messenger right now for safe communication in Russia. There are another messenger called Element, which is almost even more safer, but it's very, very uncomfortable to use it because it sucks. But it's really safe. Actually, the matter of secure communication is a big matter, especially when we contact with our sources in Russia. Some of sources are really lazy and they don't want to install Element or Signal, and they said okay, it's gonna be alright. So we have to push them really hard. I'm in touch with my family. My mom, unfortunately, is affected by propaganda a lot, like many of people of her generation. But we keep talking because I believe that Putin not gonna get my mom. So we are in touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I understand, I got two questions. Did I understand you that you said co-workers were murdered? That's the first question. Maybe I did not understand that correctly. And the second thing is, did I understand you to have said that you were poisoned?
Yeah, both is correct. Yeah, 6 of my colleagues were murdered in Novaya Gazeta, and it's just a Novaya Gazeta. I mean, I have some friends, journalists, who were murdered in our newspapers. And yes, I was poisoned in Munich in September.
In Munich, when you were outside of Russia, in another country, you were poisoned?
Yes,
Mm.
yes.
Mm.
German police is investigating it right now.
Reporting that you and your colleagues have done, do you have some idea about the impact that it has both in Russia and outside Russia? Can you tell? Can you measure? Do you have any idea about the impact that you folks are having?
Well, it's like a key question of journalism, like why do we do that, and do we really influence anything or not? We cannot really measure it. I know that people are reading us, people need this information, that's why we're working. We don't really know how does it influence the reality. Does it influence it good way, bad way, or does it influence it at all? I don't believe that journalism is the fourth power, at least not in Russia, never be that way. But I believe that we're creating some kind of invisible connections between people. We let people know each other, be less afraid of each other, and probably those connections are the actual thing what holds the world together. So I hope that it's still working on like that.
Christina?
Elena, thank you so much for being here, for your words. There is huge need to hear about your experiences and experiences of your colleagues. So for my question, I would like to go back to something you mentioned and conversations I also had with acquaintances in Russia. And one of my acquaintances said, thank goodness we have VPN. Talking about this technology war, and what you mentioned as the role of IT people. And I would like to hear more about IT people being on the right side of history and actually making this war for a better and a free Russia possible. And if you would like to talk about that, I would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I would love to do it, but like myself, I'm like technophobic, computer literally like person, so I probably gonna mess it up, but sorry in advance. Well, yes, VPN is like a key issue right now. The problem about Russian people, one of the problems about Russian people is that we are computerly illiterate. We don't really know how to use all these things, and many people never would learn. So there was the crisis for the first month of war with VPN because of the sanctions. Because first package of sanctions blocked like all the possibility to pay by Visa, MasterCard, all these basic forms of payment, and Apple Pay, and we basically weren't able to pay for VPN. People in Russia weren't able to pay for VPN to access the actual information about the war. It was a big problem, and it was the moment when we approached the tech people and asked them, please help us. So we did. A lot of free and secure VPN were created, and people who know how to use VPN, they are using it. But now our government and programmers who are on the wrong side of history, they trying to block the whole VPN protocol in general, and they made several attempts. Probably they would succeed one day, but I know that programmers keep inventing new forms of, making things accessible. As I said, Medusa programmers did the great work. And but what we really scared of, because this technological race, I cannot say we like winning or something, but so far like we are able to share the information. We are afraid that it's going to be the criminalization of consuming content, like in Belarus. Like then the crime is not just spreading the information, but also reading it. And I believe it's going to be done after these elections. So this is a challenge we basically don't know how to accept, because we have some, small decisions like Medusa. We have obviously a logo on our application, and you can change this logo to another logo. So people who would have your phone, they don't get that this is Medusa. This works so far. People being stopped a lot by police, their phone being checked. But mostly their Telegram channels, what they subscribed on, and their messengers, but not their web pages yet. But of course, if we pass this law, it's going to be very problematic to deliver the information. Another interesting solution, which I didn't believe in the beginning, but it works, it's PDFs. So we basically came back to practice of samizdat, Soviet practice of samizdat. So Medusa and Novaya Gazeta and some other media share PDFs with articles, and these PDFs can be shared in messengers or printed. And I recently talked with one Dolgan woman from far north Russia, very small village. And she said like, oh, please pass Novaya Gazeta, thanks for keep publishing things on PDFs, because we are printing it, and now all our village has Novaya Gazeta. We are always updated. It's what people do. But of course, many people, then they face this fear of repression. Then they don't really know how to access the information, when they don't know how to use VPN securely, when they believe in this spreading misinformation about that VPN is actually the program to catch your data from your phone, and if you install it, your bank card is going to be robbed. And we have this kind of advertisement on our TV. So in that case, it's very problematic to access those people. And then we also have some solutions, like, for example, feminist anti-war resistance, one of the main anti-war movements in Russia. They publish a fake newspaper called Zhenskaya Pravda, Truth of Women. It looks exactly like, this free, stupid newspaper, which like they put in your post mailbox, like very cheap, very boring, but it has a lot of updates about war and regime. Yeah.
How do you continue being an investigative journalist outside of Russia when you don't really have firsthand access to what's going on there?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. It's a very, very big question for us. Well, we have a new genre of journalism. It's called phone journalism. We basically call people. It's stupid. Well, some of us still have some sources in Russia, so we use it. We use their help. This is temporal decision, because you need to, maintain your relationship with your source. You cannot just, text him once a while from abroad, like, how you doing, pal? Do you have something to share? It doesn't work this way. We also have our eyes and ears in Russia with young journalists and not so young journalists. Most of them working anonymously, where data is very secured. I don't know with whom Medusa is working in Russia. Only 2 people in Medusa knows with whom we are working in Russia. We also have so-called proxy media. It's like then people who work for real media, we create fake media so we can approach some officials and some places showing wrong ideas of other media. But yes, it sucks, especially for reporters. Analytics are good. I mean, they're sitting in their chairs, doing their work. Investigative reporters also quite, not reporters, investigative journalists also quite good because like data journalism is booming right now. We do a lot of data and about the elections and about the war and about everything. Like we do very good. My sister does data journalism, so she's very fine. Me and people like me, we suck. I mean, we have to be present on place, we have to see things. So for me, my decision was to basically write about places what Russia affects, which are outside of Russia. I recently traveled to Ukraine again. It was my first trip after poisoning. So yeah, it's my solution so far.
My question is about immigrant communities, and you're in reality exiled from Russia, so not a willing participant in any immigration. But the question would be, what has been your point of access into the, and you're in Germany now, as I understand, right? So what has been your point of access into the immigrant community as it's been constituted after the invasion? Secondly, what is the sense of, it sounds like there are a lot of foreign agents operating in Germany. So what has that done to any sense of community among Russian immigrant communities? And finally, given your observations, does it seem like the immigrant community in Germany has hope to go back to Russia in the wake of the conclusion of the conflict? Or does it seem like this is a new wave of permanent immigration to Europe?
Thank you so much. Good question. Cannot really answer it because I'm not a part of immigrant community because of the security issues. And because when I moved to Germany, I was poisoned like 3 weeks after, so I didn't really have time to, merge, mingle. And after that, I was just like vomiting for half a year, so not so much fun. We Russians are well known that we cannot really do diasporas. I don't know why. We hate each other. But we do have some immigrant communities in Germany. I heard about that. Never got involved into. I heard about that there are plenty of Russian security agents amongst those people. I've heard about that from the police who's investigating my poisoning. Well, I wish I heard it before the poisoning. As we say in Russia, хороша ложка к обеду. But it's all that I know. I know that a lot of Russians who like exiled right now, they put their resources to help Ukrainians and Ukraine. They have different approaches to that. I was partially involved into the chain of help to one Ukrainian woman who lost all her family in Mariupol and who luckily escaped from there. And I know that for many people this is what we do like on daily basis. But they do it, as we say, for themselves to feel a bit better about like everything. So
Because there's a lot of misinformation in and about Russia, how do you decide what the truth is when you're writing a story?
It's tough. Basically, there is a rule of free sources. You need to have free independent sources, free sources independent from each other, which confirms the same information. It's not necessary should be people. It can be like two people documents, so data, document, and person. Bless you. You also always try to find witness. You also try to find, and witness is also not always the person. It can be CCTV. You assume that everyone is lying. It's like the basic rule of journalism. So far, and yeah, we lost the grade to what we had before. Like, it's used all the time, like my legs and my eyes and my ears. Like, you basically go to the place, see by yourself what's going on. I cannot do it right now. But I can send someone there and ask them to do it for me. So, to collect information, it took longer and it's hard to prove. It took a lot. Some of my colleagues who do investigative stories on war crimes in Ukraine, they do their reportings for like a year before they can publish a text. Before we don't have access nor to Russia nor to Ukraine. I was the first Russian journalist who was granted by Ukrainian visa, and I'm very thankful for that. Hopefully that I won't be the last. Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit about the factor of the president of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov? Is reporting possible in the Caucasus? What is his influence throughout Moscow? And is it possible, did he have any influence on what the situation with Estemirova and Politkovskaya, other journalists?
Thank you so much for the question. Well, we still do have reporting on Caucasus. It's extremely dangerous and very unsafe. My colleague Elena Milashina is doing it for Novaya Gazeta. She basically became a Caucasus and Chechen reporter after Politkovskaya was murdered, then Estemirova took her place, then Estemirova was murdered, then Milashina took her place. So she's doing that. Last summer, she was brutally attacked in Grozny. They broke her fingers, tried to break her fingers, saying like, you won't write anymore. They beat her hardly, they shaved her head. And they also stuck a knife into the leg of the lawyer who were accompanying her. Elena is choosing to stay in Russia and to keep reporting. She has her own ideas about how safe it's for her. I do respect her decision, though I'm extremely scared every second for her life. About the involvement of Ramzan Kadyrov into Anna Politkovskaya and Natalia Estemirova murders. Well, me personally, I don't have proofs because unfortunately we don't have all the tools of police or investigative committee or prosecutors who do investigations. You know, we did our own investigation on this murder, on these murders. We don't have proofs. So Ramzan Kadyrov and his army, his personal army, has an extreme influence on what's happening in Ukraine, but he's very sick. He's gonna be dead soon. I don't think I'm gonna miss him. But I wish he could live long enough to be on trial.
Given the extent of the suppression of the truth in Russia. Do you have a feeling of the average attitude of Russians in general? Do they see us as rivals or more likely adversaries?
Rebels, though.
Does the average Russian, in your opinion, view the United States as rivals or more likely as adversaries?
Соперник,
Enemy.
rival
Соперник или?
или враг,
Oh.
adversary.
Well, here's the thing. Our propaganda says you are the enemies. Yeah. And you always wish us harm. We always tried it during all your history. Some Russians believe that because this intersects with Soviet propaganda. So it's basically like my mom. All of her life she's been told that United States are evil country who wish to destroy Russia and from inside with people like me. She has complicated feelings about like me being here talking with you. She says to me, please don't say bad things about your country in front of Americans. We should be proud in front of Americans. So I said, like, I'm having trouble to being proud for my country for a while. So this propaganda goes deep in our culture. But basically people are so busy on survival, so the majority of Russians don't really give a shit about America or Europe. They like taking care of their families and trying to survive this extreme race of prices in the supermarket. Some of Russians cannot afford to eat meat anymore. They have to change their food preferences. But the thing about Russians compared to your culture, we love to talk about big things. So if you go to some, bar in the middle of nowhere, and there are some Russians drinking, and you can ask what you think about America. They have a lot to say, like a lot, a lot. But interestingly, the things that they're saying and the way what we're doing are completely opposite. Like, for example, do you believe that America gonna be destroyed soon enough, gonna be rotten from inside and vanish? Yes, of course. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, but it's gonna fall so soon. Nothing gonna good happen with this country, of course. Do you prefer to keep your money in rubles or dollars? Of course, dollars. Sure. Yeah. What do you think about Americans? Not very smart, I guess. Yeah, simple. Their government fooling them. Obviously, they fooling them and they hate us. Okay. Do you hear that your neighbor's daughter went to America and got married? Oh yeah, she's so lucky, for sure. I mean, that's a paradoxal, but it's also like about our culture. Then we talk about big things. We don't really mean things we're telling about. I mean, we mean it on some level, but then we make decisions for ourselves. We go practical. So I know that like our propaganda say very bad things about you, but would Russian people welcome you if you appear in the middle of nowhere in Russia? Yes, they would do it happily. So.
In 2014, we were in Russia, and we found the people in Moscow were not very friendly. And the further we got away from Moscow, the friendlier they became, and they loved to talk.
Oh yeah.
They said they welcomed us, and they said that our leaders don't like each other, but we like each other. It was a real experience. The small towns we visited, very friendly.
Thank you so much for notice. My ex was American, and my other ex was also American. And
How many exes do you have?
a while, yeah. But now I'm happily married on Russian woman. She's not here, so I can speak about my exes freely. So the thing is that my mom, in the summer, she lives in a village. There's like no roads, like 50 houses, only no phone connection, no internet communication, nothing like that, just people living their life. And I brought both of these girlfriends there, one by one, not simultaneously. And none of them were white, so can you imagine? So people in village, they were so excited about where to come. They were so happy for them to come. They showed them everything, every bee, every plant. Like they feed them with pirashki, with mед, like all. They wanted to talk. We want to know like what they think about the world. They want to ask them about America, like how people live there, what is good, what is bad there. This is better in our country, and this is better in your country for sure. So people are very, very, very curious, and this curiosity sometimes, because they don't speak English in this village, I was translating. And sometimes they didn't believe that I'm translating correctly. Like, for example, my American girlfriend were eating honey, and honey is fantastic in this village. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic honey. Do you do it yourself? And the man like, yeah, sure, I have bees. And she's like, oh, I have friends who have bees. They live in New York. And I translated to her, and she's like, okay, so where does he have his bees? She's like, oh, yeah, on the roof of skyscraper, they have some hives. And the man like, okay, what do they eat on the roof of skyscrapers? And they're like, oh, they buy some special food for the bees and give it to them on the roof of skyscrapers, so they would produce some honey. And he's like, Lena, you're not translating me the right thing. You're fooling me right now, right? And I went, no, I promise. And he's like, no way she's saying that. And another thing was about meditation, as I remember. Someone asked my girlfriend what is meditation is. And she's like, well, it's like then you sit or lie down, do nothing, and let your mind flow. And he's like, why can't you let your mind flow without sit or do nothing? You can just do it any moment. And she's like, no, we need a special condition. We also have application on our phone. We need to, educate ourselves how to do it properly. And the guy's like, you go to the field, you look at the field, you do nothing, your mind flow, you meditate. So we have some things in common. Yeah.
Thank you for your bravery. What kind of support does Putin actually have in Russia? And what do you see as hope there?
Thank you so much for this question. It's a great one. We cannot really evaluate the support or not support that directly, because like if you approach person on the street with the mic and ask him, do you support Putin? Do you support war? Person says, "Oh, of course, yes, sure." But luckily we have other way to measure these things, more sophisticated sociological ways. And I don't remember the last numbers on Putin, but on the war I remember. It says that 15% of Russians supporting war, 14% of Russians strongly oppose the war, and 71% of Russians are tolerating the war. What does it mean? It means that people don't like what's happening, but we don't know how to resist it, how to stay opposite. And I believe this 71%, the majority of Russian, is the main resource we have and the main hope we have. We need to give them the idea how to resist. So I believe the only hope we have is a revolution. Me reporting on some revolutions in the world, if we weren't be so fucked up, I would never wish revolution to my country. But I believe this regime cannot evolve, and this is the only way to change things. And the first step to it is to build chain of trusts, because people right now in Russia, because of the repressions, we don't really trust each other. They don't talk to each other about important things anymore. But this chain of trust is being built, and we have grassroots movements and anti-war resistant movements, and they do very different things, from anti-propaganda to, blowing the rail tracks, trains with weapons, don't go to Ukraine. It grows slowly, and revolution, like a stroke, you never know when it happens, but you can prepare the conditions. So it's what we're doing now. Yeah.
Is Putin, to what extent is Putin equivalent with the Russian state? This is kind of continuing what you were saying. Like, if Putin were to die tomorrow, would it be a step towards peace, or would the regime just find a new figurehead and continue on with the same repression?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat?
Yeah. So, how related is Putin the state? Like, is he a complete dictator, or would the regime continue without him if he died?
I wish I would say that Putin is like the only evil we have. No, we have fascism, and fascism is never about one man. It's about the ideology and the system, and about like the regime in general. So no, if Putin dies tomorrow, I believe war probably would stop, but then it would start again. So we need to like recreate the understanding of ourselves like Germans did. It's a lot of work. So, but right now, yes, Putin is the state. His decision is like ultimate. He decides everything. Everybody around him should be loyal to him. If they disloyal, it ends badly. But unfortunately, if he dies, it will continue. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know the conversation is going very well, but it has been already an hour. Maybe one last question.
Yeah.
Why did Novotny go back?
Because he loved his country. Because he loved his country, believed in his country, and wanted to be with his country.
He knew what was going to happen to him, though.
He knew that that's possible, yes. Yes. He also was a Christian.
Could
He
you
believed.
accomplish more outside of Russia?
Well, I don't know what he wanted to accomplish, and I don't think that it's really fair to think about like that man, like could he accomplish more if he did the other choice. He was a Christian. He believed that if you know the right thing to do, you need to do it no matter what, no matter the cost, no matter the price of it. So he loved his country. He wanted to be with his country, but he came back before the war had started. So he had hopes, which probably were vanished after the full-scale invasion. I know that his team were very close to negotiate his exchange on Vadim Krasikov, the FSB murderer of Chechen refugees in Han Pangashvili in Berlin. Navalny was murdered shortly after these negotiations confirmed the exchange.
Well, we have time also maybe to ask questions after the talk, and let's thank our great speakers.